This is Tabletop Babble, and I'm Amber. Today on the show, I chatted with full-time streamer, roleplayer, and GM Vana, who is an incredibly supportive person, and it was an absolute delight chatting with her. We sat down on April 14th and talked about her journey into streaming TTRPGs, her transition into GMing, vented a little about the stress and or pressure of streaming TTRPGs live, her show From Dusk Till Dark, as well as her upcoming show Pull Up a Sheet, and we also snuck a little bit of anime talk in at the end, which I would be sorry for if I didn't get so much of my TTRPG inspiration from anime, but I do, and so therefore it's topical. Anyway, hi Vanna, and welcome to Tabletop Babble.
Hello, hi, thanks for having me.
So, for my listeners, if you would please introduce yourself, your name, your pronouns, and what you do in the TTRPG space.
Yeah, my name is Vana or Havana. My pronouns are my pronouns. This is off to a good start.
We felt good.
My pronouns are she, her, and I stream full-time on Twitch. I've been doing actual plays for tabletop RPGs for like 4 or 5 years. I started playing in high school, and yeah, I just started recently producing tabletop RPG content on my own channel for the first time. We just wrapped season 1 of From Dusk Till Dark, which is a Rime of the Frost Maiden actual play. And then I'm about to introduce a new show called Pull Up a Sheet, which is specifically about introducing new players to the fandom, to the hobby. And I don't know, I heard like someone wonderful like made this really great logo for it.
Oh.
And like everybody loves it. So, you know, maybe you've heard of it.
I'm blushing over here. It's me.
It's you. Oh, I thought you were familiar. It's you.
Oh boy. So I've seen you on the interwebs from time to time, but getting to do the logo for you is kind of like how I started introduction to you as a streamer. How long have you been streaming full time for?
It's 6 or 7 years. Or wait, no, I've been streaming 6 or 7 years, but full time maybe 4 or 5. Whatever my partner anniversary is, that's how long.
Whatever that date is.
Whatever that is. Someone Google it. I don't know. Why did you expect me to know?
I mean, honestly, I don't know why I ask anybody to remember anything anymore, because I personally can't remember like 2 weeks ago. So I'm sorry I asked such a difficult question off the bat.
It's okay. I forgive you. It's going to take some time for me to work through it, but I'll get there.
Well, one of the things I do like to do for this show is I'm always interested in how people like got into TTRPGs. So you said you started in high school.
Yeah.
Was it D&D?
Yes, it was 3.5E.
Oh. That's the same D&D I started with.
It's good, right?
Do you have good memories of D&D 3.5 and that how that started back then?
It was a bit of a mixed bag, because just like I was in high school, so I was a young woman in a very like older male dominated hobby. So it was like me in this like attic comic book shop in my hometown with like 4 or 5 middle-aged men and one kid my age, and then me, and I was the only like female energy at the table. So it was like, it was really fun, and I'm very like grateful for the introduction, but it was also like, you know, there's definitely moments of like discomfort in that, especially like role playing. You know, I'm 16, 17 having to role play with, you know, 40-year-old men or something. It's just a little.
Well, it's how did you get pulled into that situation? Because I've always had like, you know, friends my age, and then it's just we're at lunch together, but did a friend bring you into?
Yeah. So It was the kid my age, was like a boy that was in my grade, and we did like theater stuff together, and he was like, oh, okay, just come to the shop and try this out. And I was like, and I really loved it. I'm pretty sure I played a spellcaster, because I just remember like fumbling around with all the nuances of that.
Because I was going to say 3.5 spellcasters, it's a lot of paperwork.
Yeah, I think I just found my character sheet too recently. I think I tweeted about it, but I just moved out to Tennessee from California, and on the way I stopped by my mom's house. She lives in the Midwest, and I was going through some stuff trying to find like some old games, and I think I found my original character sheet, and I was like, what an emotional moment. I don't think I had any idea I had saved that. Like,
oh, I wish I had my first original character sheet. I bet you it'd be super cringe though.
I don't know. I mean, I expected mine to be, the drawing I had made of my character was definitely cringe, but it was cool to just see, like, you could tell it had been loved, you know, like the corners were all frayed and the paper was old and everything had been marked off and then remarked and then marked off and then erased. And I don't know. It was kind of like, it felt to me like my own, like arcane item or something, you know, like power, my source of my power or something like
the
that.
The beginning of
the origin story.
Yes. Do you remember what that character was? Like, what you said, spellcaster? Do you remember anything about?
I think she was a sorcerer, and it's been 6 months since I looked at it, so I don't remember anything else. I think I was more just sort of wrapped up in the nostalgic feeling of it all, that I wasn't really clocking mechanical details as much.
Did you have a lot of like role play or backstory or like character moments with that character? Or was that experience pretty like small to begin with?
I think again, like with the like crowd that I was playing with, I think, and I genuinely, I can't remember what I imagine is that I was probably more uncomfortable role playing out loud, but what I did do a lot was role play in web forums.
Oh, like play to post?
Yeah, I did that a lot. And I think that was a lot more comfortable for me because it's like, you know, no one knew who I was or how old I was or, you know, what my gender identity was or whatever. Like, you know, I could just be whoever I wanted and no one questioned it. And I think that was a lot easier for me to get into the rhythm of role playing and kind of immerse myself in a character than it was sitting at a table with arguably men I should not be near. I should not be spending time with. I don't know any other situation where people would be like, it's normal that your 16, 17-year-old daughter is hanging out with these 40-year-old men.
I know, I think about it too, because like I look back on my role play experience. You know, I played with a bunch of kids my age. But then once I started to get away from high school and in college, it was like, oh, I'm 19 and I'm playing with literally like two 50-year-old men and
like
a couple of 30-year-old men.
Yeah. Looking back, I don't think I was that stressed about it at the time, but I just don't think I had a greater context for the situation.
So going from the high school experience, like what was the next step in the Vana TTRPG journey?
Abandon it for a decade, I think. After high school, it was like I don't think I played it all in college. And then after college, you know, I was working in the service industry, and it was like, I don't think a lot of people I knew messed with tabletop RPGs. So it wasn't until I moved out to Los Angeles when I was like 26 that I ran into Saving Throw Show through like an ad that they had posted on some random like Facebook group that was like nerds in comedy in Los Angeles Facebook page or something like that. And they were like, we're looking for people who have experience with tabletop RPGs, or they might have specifically said Dungeons and Dragons, and also have an experience with streaming. And I was like, oh, well, I qualify, and I literally am not going to know anyone in LA, so I will sign on to do this because it'll be fun and I'll get to meet some people. And that's when I got back into it, and things really sort of escalated from there. So basically streaming then became the next path for just playing games. I think so. Like if there was other stuff, I can't remember. I mean, my memory is pretty shoddy, but
I'm sorry that I keep asking you.
No, it's okay. Yeah. Listen, We're every time you ask me a question I don't know the answer to, there's some sort of muscle in my brain that is being flexed. And we're building it up, and one day my brain is going to be swole.
This podcast is exercise. Cool.
Yes.
But yeah, so streaming was then your next RPG experience, and you said that role playing prior you weren't comfortable with. So I guess you had a decade to kind of, and with the streaming helps you be able to role play on stream.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of, like I said, like I did a lot of role playing in web forums, so it's like I already had an interest in like playing a character and taking on a role and engaging with other people playing characters and in, you know, sort of a high fantasy or otherwise environment. So I think that was definitely the catalyst of a bunch of it. But then I did theater, and I loved acting, and the acting led to improv, and the improv led to stand-up comedy, and all of that led to streaming. So I just think those are all provide really like innate tools for being a role player, you know, thinking on the spot, working collaboratively. It's particularly, I guess, for streaming tabletop RPGs, because it's also the entertainment aspect of it, of like knowing how to work an audience or work with somebody to work an audience, or you know, just generally provide entertainment out of whatever you have at your fingertips. So I think it all just sort of culminated into what it is now, I guess. Whatever the heck I do now.
Yeah, because like I like perked up because you did stand-up comedy.
Yeah, I did it for a number of years. Both my parents were stand-up comedians before I was born. And so we always had kind of that energy in the house. And then it was like, I don't know, I think just after high school, my dad like led a stand-up workshop, and like I took that and just like really loved it. And then when I went to college, like I went to college in Lawrence, but there's about 45 minutes away, Kansas City. And in Kansas City, there's a pretty big comedy scene. So I was going out there like pretty much every weekend to do a comedy show of some sort.
I'm just so impressed by like comedians. It's like
listen, I didn't say I was good.
No, it's not even whether you're good or not. It's just like that ability to like put yourself out there. You know what I mean? Like getting up to do it, to put yourself out there creatively vulnerable. You know, that to me is such an inspiring thing, because like I have such bad social anxiety. Like role playing was hard for me to begin when I first started.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I guess I'm able to compartmentalize those things, because it's like it's easier for me to like go on a stage, or you know, the proverbial stage that is the internet, and act and perform and joke and talk, than it is for me to like go to a party where I don't know anyone and start a conversation. Like those are very different for me, and one I'm, you know, relatively good at, and one is an impossible task, and how dare you ask it of me.
I feel that like I think I'm getting better at that now, because I've been doing more podcasting, and like I think you like kind of becoming a character, right? You have to put on like a performance, so it kind of makes sense, like donning a role. So
right,
I get it. So what was the first streamed game that you were in?
So it was with Saving Throw Show in Los Angeles, and it was called Barky's Brigade. And it was a 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons show. And the cast changed a couple of times, so I can't remember who was in the original cast, but I know Amy Vorpahl was in it, because she was Barky. So that's how I met Amy. And there were some other really great people in it, but we kind of carried on with Barky's for a little bit, and had a number of cast changes out. So I'm not actually sure who was in the OG cast, other than Barky herself.
What was your character?
Oh, I don't know.
Too long ago?
I really gotta do something about this.
Oh.
I gotta go get some help. I'll see you later.
Get some ginseng or eat some garlic or whatever it is.
Something like that. I have an anxiety disorder, and that's supposed to mess with like your
Oh yes, this I call
memory.
it Swiss cheese bread.
Yeah,
I call it
yeah,
like
yeah.
I literally will walk around the house and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing right now. Like I moved into here for a reason. What was that reason? Well then, so going from the saving throw, that experience, do you remember it being a good time? Is that what was like, oh, I could be doing this. I could be doing this more.
Yeah, I think for me, like I was saying, like I moved to Los Angeles and I didn't like I kind of knew a couple people, but like didn't really have any like, you know, like steadfast comrades out there or anything. I didn't have a job lined up. The first episode of Saving Throw show I was on, I didn't even have a place to live yet. Like I was living in an Airbnb. So it's like I really think of Saving Throw show as like my first home in Los Angeles because it gave me some place to be, and it gave me like this whole host of like amazing people that were like ready to be there for me and support me, not only at the table but away from the table. So I don't know, I attribute a lot of like my success and my happiness in my like time in LA to Saving Throw show for sure. Like it like changed my life.
A good group of people, and you know,
yeah,
that's really good. I'm glad you had that, because moving to a new place and like you said, not having a place really yet to live, that's scary. So then from Saving Throw, what was the next steps for you?
So I did multiple shows on Saving Throw show, and then, you know, one shots every now and then from there I made contacts at Geek and Sundry. So I started doing like hosting shows over there, and then from Geek and Sundry I went to Alpha, where they were doing tabletop RPG content. Rest in peace, Alpha. And from there I, you know, it's the very stereotypical thing I think of Los Angeles is like it's 100% about like who you know and the connections you make, you know? So it was like all these opportunities I was getting, it was just like this web of like everyone I met at Saving Throw show, and then all these webs shot out, and then it was like everyone I met at Geek and Sundry, and then all those webs shot out, and then you know, I did work over at Caffeine. I did work over at like a couple other like local Los Angeles studios. I was doing like live shows at conventions. I like premiered like this high fantasy based board game from Brotherwise Games with Patrick Rothfuss at a convention, and I was like it all happened because of this like one catalytic event of like replying to a Facebook ad and just all the webs, like just chasing the threads that came from that. Yeah, it's been a wild ride.
So doing all these shows with like TTRPGs, has it mostly been D&D, or have you been able to branch out from different systems?
Yeah, definitely. Like in high school, like the only thing I was even aware of was Dungeons and Dragons. But Saving Throw show, again, really values introducing people to all sorts of systems. So the bigger ones, you know, like Pathfinder, Starfinder, etc. But also like indie content and working with brands to introduce folks to their content, whether that be systems or modules or what have you. So that definitely increased my interest in those things as well. And it's one of the goals that I have for Pull Up a Sheet, as well as introducing new people to the hobby, also introducing seasoned people to new tabletop RPGs or like indie tabletop RPGs that maybe necessarily they wouldn't go out of their way normally to research.
So during the all of those connections and shows and the webs that you were crawling through, yeah, no one can see us, but we are making hand gestures like we are crawling through a web.
We are two spiders.
Were you mostly just playing as a PC and stuff, or when did the transition into maybe GMing happen?
Oh my gosh, it was a rocky transition. I'm like I'm sure it has to do with the anxiety and everything, but I'm a very like neurotic person. So when I started being interested in GMing, I was so wound up about it. And Tom Lommel, who is just like one of the most incredible GMs I've ever met, was, bless his soul, was trying so hard to help me. And he was like, it's not that hard. Like, here's some tools. Like, here's some basic things that you can do, to plan a session. And here's like, really basic systems that are very rules light. So you won't have to worry about it. And I was like, yeah, okay. All right, whatever. Tom, I'll do it. And then I would write freaking like novels of prep. And then I'd go to him and be like, I don't know what to do. I've written all this, and what does it mean? And I should still write 20 more pages, Tom. And he was like, I don't know. I mean, I imagine he was probably like, I don't know what to do with this girl. So I don't know. I think after getting some of that under my belt of just being like a neurotic mess of a GM and realizing the intimidation factor of all of it was completely aggrandized in my mind, then it became a bit smoother. So that's why I had like the I don't know, strength. That sounds so dramatic, but the energy, the want, I don't know what word I'm looking for, but to do it on my own channel, was because of I was given the opportunities by Dom Zook over at Saving Throw Show to try out GMing. I was helped out by so many of my friends who are excellent GMs. I attribute a lot of like my skills as a GM and my interest in GMing to Abria Iyengar. It's like one of my best friends. She's quitting on everything. And she GM'd Salt Bay for us for 100 seasons now, I think we're on. And she's just such an incredible storyteller and world builder, and just watching her work, I was just like, I just want to be a fraction of that. Like, I just want to get my stuff together enough to be a fraction of the incredible facilitator that she is for tabletop RPGs. So
I have a lot of empathy in all of what you said at the beginning with the neurotic GMing, because yeah, I think it's the anxiety. I think it has to be where it's like, I gotta control this situation. And I had the similar experience. And the first time I started GMing was for podcasting and recording. And it sounds like your first GMing experience was recorded. Was it live? The silent nod head, the close of eyes. Oh yeah,
sorry, this is a podcast. Yes. 10 out of 10 don't recommend.
I gotta make notes about questions I have to ask.
Okay.
Because otherwise I'm gonna get lost in thought. So the first one is, well, you answered it. Would you recommend GMing for the first time on a live stream?
Oh no. No. I mean, honestly, it'll be fine. Like if that's the opportunity you have to GM, I think you should take it. But if you have an option to do it off stream and just like give yourself the room and the like the leniency to just let everything fall where it may, I think you should, because streaming it just adds a whole other layer to it. Like, if you're already anxious about, this is my main anxiety. It's like, I want everybody at the table to have fun. Like, I want them to feel included. I want them to feel involved. I want them to feel like they're having fun, that something about the story or a session or whatever has touched them. Like, I just want it to be good for them. But then when you add the whole layer of streaming, then it's like, okay, now I want it to be great for my table, but I also want it to be great for this entire viewership, which could be any number of people. And you don't have the liberty of seeing their reactions or hearing their reactions and it kind of picking up on the energy or body language if they're enjoying it or not. So it's just like, it just adds another layer of stress or things to think about, in my experience. I'm sure there's people out there that it wouldn't bother, like, they're really comfortable in that position, and it's like they could do it at home or on live television. It just wouldn't matter. I'm not a cool cat. I'm the opposite of a cool cat. I'm a cold dog. Or a hot dog. I'm a hot dog. That's what I meant.
Oh, I love hot dogs.
Thank you.
Does the thought of leading a group through the creative landscapes of your imagination terrify you? Do you worry about being asked questions you don't know the answers to? Have you wanted to try being a dungeon or game master, but your social anxiety has been holding you back? Hi, I'm Amber, and I used to nearly vomit at the idea of running a tabletop RPG. How'd I get over that anxiety? I haven't. Surprise! I'm still an anxious mess, and you can listen to all of it on Shapeshift, where I've recorded 80% of every game I've ever ran. Over the last 4 years, I've run a ton of indie one-shots like Casketland, a weird Western horror game, to my first ever campaign using Ryutama, a Studio Ghibli-like exploration-focused game. Follow me through my journey learning how to GM and to live with my anxiety. It doesn't go away completely, but it does get easier to manage. Go to geekspective.com to find out more information or find Shapeshift on wherever you listen to your podcasts. So then I guess segueing into my next question would be is like, how have you been managing it? Like, have you found ways and tools for yourself that makes it easier for you to be GMing on stream?
Oh yeah, I think the most crucial thing for me is just having a table of people that I know support me. Because as much as I'm going to get in my head about XYZ and the third, like I can look over and be like, there's someone who is excited to be here and they care about me and they care about supporting the content we're making and supporting each other. And like, at the end of the day, like if I messed everything up, like they'd have me, you know, they'd pick up the pieces, they'd pick up the slack on the proverbial rope, you know, and I think that is such a comfort to me. And I'm very lucky to know loads and loads of people in the tabletop RPG space. So it's like most tables I sit at, you know, I have at least one or two people at that table that are giving me that extra confidence to hold my own in that space.
That's really nice and really good, because yeah, nothing feels quite so bad as you're GMing and you're describing something and somebody is like checked out and you're like, no.
Yeah, that luckily hasn't happened to me yet, but I think if it does, I will cry.
I have afterwards, because
yeah.
And it's like people you can't reach out to and say, hey, do you hate me?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely had that experience with tabletop RPGs, but as like a player. I played a game of Delta Green one time, and I had never played Delta Green before. So my friend Eric Riker, mostly Eric on everything, my very good friend, I love him very much, an amazing GM. He was GMing it. And what he said to me was like, oh yeah, everybody's agents. And for some reason, my brain was like, agents, yes, like Dick Tracy. And so I came to the session. I had like gone to the thrift store and picked up like this tan trench coat and this like crappy brown fedora. And I'd come to the session like that, not to be a butthole, but you know, because I thought that was the assignment. And everybody there who had played Delta Green and I think, you know, was very serious about the game, I think was immediately annoyed by me. Oh, no. Because I think they thought I was doing it to be, I don't know, to be dramatic or to be funny or something. But I truly misunderstood the assignment. But then I was there in costume and we were going live. So I was like, I guess I'm leaning into the bit because I don't have anything else prepared or a costume change or anything. And then throughout the course of the entire game, they actively tried to kill my character.
Oh, no.
Like at every turn, they would like shoot her. They would like try and run her over. They would try and leave her behind. And ironically, she's the only one who ended up surviving.
That's actually really hilarious.
But I remember holding it together all stream. We went off air. I'm like, oh, I gotta go. I gotta take care of the dogs. Get in my car. I just cry for 20 minutes. I hadn't felt that bullied since like grade school, middle school. And it was like in game, but it's like, I don't know. Like sometimes people bring that energy to the table and you're like, this seems bigger than the context of this game. Like,
yeah, like, so I started streaming TTRPGs a couple years ago, and one of the things that I definitely felt pressure was to stay on.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, we're in a game, you have to stay on. And I actually don't like that at all. Because I'm such a check-in type of person where I'm like, wait, are you okay with that? Oh, wait, I want you to do that. No, you should totally be trying to kill my character right now because I think it's hilarious. And breaking that character stuff. There's a question here, maybe. I don't know if there is a question here. There might just be like, I'm
we can just commiserate. Statement. That's fine. Like,
yeah, like I like what are your thoughts on this? I don't have a question.
Listen, I was thinking about the other day is that like before we had like ovens and stuff, like everything was barbecue, huh?
Yes. I suppose so.
No, but for real, like that's definitely something that bothers me too. And I think now as I'm GMing a lot more, the thing that I worry about is that when we breach like serious subjects or there's like an intense scene, like my instinct is to check in with the other person. So I make sure to set up with my table, like for From Dusk Till Dark, our rhyme playthrough. We have the X card in place. And you can use it a number of ways. Like you can say it out loud, you can use your arms, or you can type in like our private Zoom chat. So like what I'll do is I'll type an O ? In the chat after like a pretty serious scene to check in on everyone. And I think that helps me a lot. And I think if someone, and it's been fine so far, but I think if someone came back and was like, no, then I'd just like, end the show or cut to break, because it's like at the end of the day, like you and your players, like mental health is 100 times more important than any sort of like plot hook or show or a scene or mechanic, in the grand scheme of things. Like that's what we should care about. Even if you're live, even if you feel like you have to be on, like I think being a producer or a GM, it's your responsibility to take care of the people at the table first and foremost. And sometimes that means sacrificing your content to do that. And that's okay. And I think that should be normalized.
Yeah, I think more people need to hear that. Like,
definitely.
People at the table more important than the content. I agree 100%. So you're GMing on your Twitch channel now?
Yeah.
What's your Twitch channel? So we know what that is.
Oh, twitch.tv/Vana. That's VANA.
And so you said dusk till
From Dusk Till Dark. Yeah.
From Dusk Till Dark.
Not to be confused with the Tarantino film From Dusk Till Dawn,
which is what I almost said.
Although Selma Hayek in that movie, 10 out of 10.
It's been a while since I've seen that movie.
Listen, it's not good.
I don't remember it being great.
But Selma Hayek, 10 out of 10.
So tell me about that show, because it's the first time I'm hearing about it, really, other than seeing it on Twitter.
It was my first foyer into tabletop RPG content on my own channel, because I've been doing it for years now, mostly over at Saving Throw Show, but a bunch of other channels and live shows and things like that. And I think it just took me a while to build up the confidence to make it on my own channel, I think. And like I said, like there's so many people in my life and friends that I love dearly who are such an inspiration to me every day and are so good at what they do in the tabletop RPG space that I think one day I was just like, heck it. Like, we're doing it. Like my friends, it's like, I don't know, it feels like some Steven Universe cliche or something, but like my friends inspire me and I'm going to go for it,
I am a fan of that. I want more of that. I spent too much of my life being bitter and angry. Like, give me that Steven Universe sappy love crap. That's what I want more of.
Listen, I feel that. I agree. But yeah, it's just been the most amazing thing. And in like a year of just so much anxiety and sorrow and hurt and confusion and frustration, like I think like my stream team and this sort of new branch into tabletop RPGs has been my saving grace for sure, just because of all the amazing people that I get to connect with and the like stories we get to tell together and the communities that we get to build together. It's just been really remarkable. And yeah, From Dusk Till Dark is a Rime of the Frost Maiden playthrough. I think I just like randomly picked up Rime of the Frost Maiden at like Target one day and started reading through it. And I was like, that day I was like, oh, I love this. Like, I love this so much. Rime of the Frost Maiden definitely has some problematic aspects to it, but you can edit that. You can edit that out. And like the bones of it, I really appreciated, you know? And so I was like, I tweeted that day. So it was like the timeline is Target, home and reading, Twitter. I tweeted that night. But like, what if I ran this on my channel? And then by the next day, I had hired someone to do the overlay, and I had set the cast. It just escalated really quickly. I think I was having a manic episode, but but yeah, it just came together, and I couldn't ask for like a better cast. And you know, for someone I've been involved a lot, but I've never like produced any tabletop RPG content. Like, I feel really good about like how everything looked. And we had like, I think by the end of the week, we had like a handful of companies reach out and talk about like providing things for us. D&D Beyond, Roll20, Dice Envy, and Wormwood, like, all had reached out and were like, what can we get you? You know, and I was like, what the heck? I don't know. It all fell together really fast, and it worked out, and I'm just, I'm super grateful, you know?
Yeah.
And we just wrapped season 1 a couple weeks ago, and we just did our talk back this week, which was really, really interesting. So many people had good questions, and I think I like imagined we'd be answering questions for an hour and a half, and it went for like 3.5 hours. So I don't know. It's just like, you know, the engagement has really boosted my confidence as like a GM, like seeing the way my players engage with the content. And 2 of them were brand new. J-Rock and Jude were brand new to tabletop RPGs, and the way they like really leaned into it super hard and latched onto the content and supported each other like out the gate. Just that made me feel so good and brought me so much joy. And then seeing how like my community and the corresponding communities responded to all of us kind of doing this actual play thing for the first time, for the most part. Like, I don't know, it was just like it's really special.
It is. I'm like over here grasping, like, oh, I love hearing this stuff. I also love when you, from a fellow anxiety person, it just feels so nice to hear that you are also getting that confidence and inspiration from the people close to you at the table, and then also your community. So that's really great.
Yeah, I'm really lucky. I'm very grateful. There was definitely like, I think the first like 3 episodes, you know, I did have that anxiety where like, I'm not doing a good job. Like, I'm not giving, you know, my friends the experience that I want to give them, But it was like, they were also supportive. Basically, after every episode, Misha Crossing on Twitch, my friend Misha, she texts me and is like, hey, how do you think it went? Like, every single time. And I'm just like, I don't know if she knows it, but that's like such a supportive thing to do for someone, you know, just to be like, hey, you just did this this big scary thing that you put a lot of time and energy into it. Do you want to talk about it? You know? Yeah. So support like that, I just like, yeah, I couldn't ask for more.
Thank you, Misha.
Thank you, Misha. I love you so much.
That's really good. That's a really good friend. Like, I love that. Yeah, there's people in my life too where I'm like, after a game, it's just like, we had a really good time, and that means so much to hear right after a game. Even if it's not streamed, even if it's not, you know, a podcast.
Absolutely.
Just to
we love affirmation.
Please drown out the voices in my head.
I'm so insecure. Please help.
Oh my gosh.
So, my goodness.
So with
From Dusk Till Dark.
From Dusk Till Dark.
I should have, in retrospect, named it something different, because like the cast only gets it right half the time. So I just made it unnecessarily complicated.
You know, it's fine. I did the same thing with the Warren of Petal Grove. Nobody calls it fully the Warren of Petal Grove. They call it Petal Grove, and no one knows it. It doesn't matter.
Wait, but I like that title a lot.
It's about rabbits.
Oh my goodness.
I ran a rabbit game. So after From Dusk Till Dark, I know you have another show coming up, but are you trying to only do like one show at a time? Is that kind of what your plan is?
I think to just try and gauge what I'm capable of, because after an episode of From Dusk Till Dark, I cannot do anything the rest of the day. I am just like incapacitated. Like I am on the couch, I am watching anime, and I do not do anything else until tomorrow. So I think to try and gauge what else I can take on, because apparently it is a very different energy zapper than like a normal stream. I'm only doing Pull Up a Sheet once a month. And then we'll be back with From Dusk Till Dark for a second season, and they will overlap because I basically have enough people interested in Pull Up a Sheet that we could provide a year of content if we did it every month. So I imagine they'll overlap at some point. But my plan is, if I can do the first couple of episodes of Pull Up a Sheet and manage, what I want to do is start letting other GMs come in and run the one shots, and then I'll produce it. So then I'm not taking on everything, and it'll also give an opportunity like, oh, are you new to GMing, or do you feel like you don't get to GM enough? Like, here's an opportunity for you too. Like, I think if we can facet this in a way that everybody gets to like try something new or introduce themselves to the hobby or certain aspects of the hobby, like that's ideal. Like, you know. So we'll see. That I think down the line I would like to be able to do 2 shows a month for Pull Up a Sheet. But we'll see.
So we've talked about Pull Up a Sheet a little bit now. Would you mind just explaining the idea? Because like where did it come from? What was inspiration? What is this show?
Well, definitely the inspiration for Pull Up a Sheet was From Dusk Till Dark, because like I was saying, like watching Jude and J-Rock, who are brand new to the hobby, like really latch onto it and thrive in it, made me so happy. Like it brought me so much joy in like an otherwise really upsetting time. And Misha is not new to tabletop RPGs, but she's new to streaming them, and watching her come into that role like with so much strength and passion also really made me really happy. So I was like, how can this happen all the time? Like, this is the best thing in the world to introduce people to this hobby. So I was like, I'll just make a show. So basically that's how it was born. Pull Up a Sheet is all about introducing new folks to the hobby. I qualify it as, if you're brand new to tabletop RPGs, get in here. But also, if you're brand new to streaming them, get in here, because that's a whole, like we were talking about earlier, like a whole other ball field. So, and then I think down the line, like if you're new to GMing, let's get you in here too. And if you're an indie tabletop RPG maker, like you get in here too, you know, just like bringing new folks or underrepresented systems together to create something really special. And yeah, I'm super stoked about it. And the support again out the gate for it was overwhelming. And it was kind of a similar situation where it was like the day I was like, hey, what if I made this show? I posted that on Twitter, and it was like all these like indie creators reached out to me and were like, here's a link to my game. Like, here's the download for Drive-Thru-RPG. And I was like, what? Yeah, okay. I want to play your game. Absolutely. Like, so I don't know. It was, and then like I said, like, I think I put up a Google form for people to apply, you know, being like, okay, you have to be mutuals, because that's how I feel I could control the safety of the space. Is like if I know you, or if someone I know knows you very well and can attest to you being not a trash person. So I kept it to mutuals. But even with that, I think I had like 60 plus people submit, and I did not anticipate that. I was like, you know, some people will be interested, and then it was like, no, everyone is interested. And I don't know, so it's really exciting. By the end of this year, there will be at least 60 new people that have been introduced to the hobby.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for you. I'm excited for it too. I'm going to watch the show. Amber, you're going to watch this show. But Are you thinking of just like they're going to be one shots?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Especially, I think initially I thought maybe they could be 2 offs or 3 offs, but with the amount of people that applied, like if we want to get everyone in within the year, they kind of have to be one shots, or I'm going to have to do it multiple times a week. And I just don't know if I can do that. So
I recently, I used to try to do 3-hour show streams, and I realized I don't have the energy to do 3 hours at in a stream to run a show, and I like cut it down to an hour and a half, and I'm like, that's it, that's all I'm ever doing ever again.
Yeah,
just an hour and a half. It's like a TV show, one shot. I took a one shot and I stretched it out for like, I was like, oh, I have 4 hours of content, we'll do an hour and a half once a week, and even that was like really tiring. So
I mean, yeah, you gotta listen to your limits, you know.
Yep.
And it's like if like you as a GM are not having the energy for it, like it's not gonna be fun or engaging for your table if like on hour 2.5 you're just like, okay, and then I don't know, an ogre comes.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh no.
He's spooky and angry. It sounds like, as I've been talking with you, you are very people focused.
Yeah. My therapist would say that's my biggest issue.
Oh! but not like I've not heard anything negative. It's like you just love those, like you get hype off of people's experiences.
Right. I think the issue is that I care more about the experiences of others than I do about my own experience. I'm more concerned with I'll go to therapy and I'll just talk about like what somebody else is going through, and I'd be like, I don't know, I'm just like really worried and I'm stressed out and I'm angry. And then it's like, okay, but what about you? Like, what's going on with you?
Well, okay, I think it's a good trait for GMing if you can balance that, right?
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
Because like the whole thing about GMing is being able to be like, are you having a good time? Like I'm setting up, we're in this together. We're building the shared collaborative story together. And I want you all to feel like you get the spotlight, you have those moments and stuff. But for a GM, like you have to have fun too. Like you said, you should be having fun. So I want to know, Vanna, what's fun for GMing for you? That is not making people happy.
Okay.
That is not making people happy.
How dare you, first of all. Second of all, that was what I was going to say, so I don't know. I really like being reactive. Like, I think it comes from, like, I did improv for like a decade. And so what I really love is getting gifts from people and saying yes, and then building upon it. I really enjoy that aspect of GMing. So I'd much rather kind of the players tell the story in a way and I build on it than have me tell the story and they build on it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I think some of my favorite moments in GMing is when I like just have like an innocuous guard that just happens to have a voice and is like, here's where you go to town. And then they start building like this ridiculous story about this guard. And then you're like, yes, you've made a character for me.
True. All that's true.
Yeah, all that's true. He has a wife that is not real. I don't know. It was a weird situation. Whatever.
She's in Canada.
Yes.
What's Canada?
Fantasy Canada.
Fantasy Canada. What is that? That's Icewind Dale. For sure.
So I'm excited for Pulpa Sheet. I'm excited that you're doing more content, GMing and producing content for yourself. My last question for you, before I get to promos and plugs, is that you brought up anime, and I have to know.
Oh, do we get to talk about anime on
we
this
get
show?
it. Yeah, it's come up a couple times because anime is a big answer.
I love anime so much.
What is the go-to anime these days?
Okay, well, Jujutsu Kaisen has been over for a little bit, but I think about it every day. And I started reading the manga, which is probably the first manga I've read since high school. Like, I think the last manga I read was Dragon Ball. Like, it's been a while, but the show ended and I was like, I have to know more. I have to know more. So I definitely had to pick up those manga. And then I'm watching through the entirety of Black Clover right now.
Oh.
Which the first like season or two is awful. Like, I don't know if it's awful, but it's not good. It's not good. But I'm much later in the show now, and I'm really enjoying it. And there's like some really cool like arcs that they go through, and it's definitely like I could see me taking a lot of inspiration for like future campaigns or arcs from the content, because it definitely has a crossover with high fantasy, and that's really good. And yeah, I just love Gojo so much. He's my husband.
It's the white haired guy with the is that the right one?
Yeah.
The blindfold, which is like I've watched 3 episodes of it so far, and I'm like, uh-oh.
It just takes one. You see Gojo Satoru once and you're done for.
I'm like, oh boy, this is Kakashi part 2 for me.
That's what people said. I need to watch Naruto though, because I was like, well, if there's a Gojo in Naruto, I will watch it.
There's a Gojo in Naruto. The progenitor to Gojo.
Of course I will watch it.
Yeah, I love anime. It's like how long is it going to be before I make an anime podcast is really like my
I mean, call me.
All right, we will talk about anime, because like right now I am a slice of life kind of person right now, because like I told you, I need that comfort, I need that
absolutely
like, good stuff. I just watched this anime called Diary of Our Days at Breakwater, which is about a high school club of girls who fish. And it's all about fishing.
Wholesome.
It's so wholesome, and it's so good, because the girl wants to go to handicraft club but gets tricked into joining the fish club, and she's like hates fish, but then she gets hooked on the fishing.
Yeah.
And it's really
oh my gosh,
informative. I love documentary stuff too, and it's like showing you how to tie knots, and I'm like, yeah. I love this.
I think I do need to watch more slice of life anime, because I need something to unwind my just not of a personality.
Well, it's so funny, because I always tell people like my 2 favorite animes are Cardcaptor Sakura.
Yes, classic.
And Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Okay. Get you someone who can do both.
Yep. But anyway,
that's
okay.
Amazing.
Anime segment over.
Wait, okay, but also Attack on Titan.
Okay, all right.
Which I might start the manga, because they were like, it's the final season, and then stopped halfway through the final season, and we're like, we'll give it to you in a year maybe.
I remember binge watching the first season, reading the manga, getting to a point in the manga where I'm like, this is bonkers.
It's dark. It's like, it has some, it's like, all it is heavy themes. It's just like 12 heavy themes tied together and thrown in your face.
Oh, all right. Now anime segment over. Okay, we got it. We slid Attack and Titan on in there. Okay. So thank you so much for coming. But before we end the show, would you please just tell people again, recap where they can find you online, and
yeah, you can find me streaming full time at twitch.tv/Vana. That is VANA. And you can find me on pretty much every social media as Havanarama, which is HAVANARAMA. And yeah, Pull Up a Sheet premieres April 27th, 8 p.m. ET at twitch.tv/Vana. And we're going to do a second season of From Dusk Till Dark, probably in the next couple of months, but I'll post on Twitter about that. And if you want to catch up on the first season, those are all in my VODs on Twitch. And then if you want to check out my YouTube, Vanarama Games, I think the first 3 or 4 episodes are up on there. And then I have 2 GM diaries as well up on there if you want to kind of see my thought process on session 0 and session 1.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all your everything.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was such a treat.
Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the show. You can find me on Twitter at Rocket Orca, Kenny as at Volfmir, and John is at Crossways GM. Tabletop Babble is part of the Geekspective Network. Go to geekspective.com to check out all our other shows or follow us on Twitter at Geekspective. Our theme music was provided by the Battle Bards.